Hi, I'm Dr. Kotecha from Kotecha GPS. In part one of our marketing shorts video, I'm joined by Natalia Decius again from Vitamin D Marketing and Design. Our first topic we're going to talk about is SEO marketing. Hear lots about it. I'm not sure as dentists always take great advantage of it, just because we have so many different hats to wear. So we're going to kind of dive into this as more of a what you need to know kind of thing. So in terms of SEO marketing, so what is it and how does it work?
Yep. A lot of people hear the term, but they don't actually know what it means, because unless you work and you live in that space, it's a little bit of a foreign language almost. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And I'd say the easiest way of explaining what that is, it's really a process of optimizing your website to make it, optimizing it in terms of design, function, content, to make it as attractive as possible for search engines such as Google and Bing. Those are like the biggest ones right now.
Yeah. So my understanding is that these search engines have algorithms that they're looking for keywords. Yep. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
So what happens, say I'm a dentist, I tag dentistry, cosmetic dentistry, implants, crowns, veneers, fillings, dental cleanings, all these tag words. What happens if they change the algorithm? How does that affect me? I mean, the whole goal from my point of view is I guess you want to be on the first page, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So the rules and best practices, they change all the time. And most of the time, Google or any other search engine platform, they don't actually release the fact that news that they're changing things and there's certain things that are more valuable than others. A lot of the times it happens and then everyone's scrambling, trying to figure out what's working, what's not. So that's why there's a lot of companies that's really just specialize in that area of market, because they live and breathe SEO and they're on a variety of different online platforms. And they're basically connecting with other professionals in that field, so to basically see what's working, what's not. But just what you mentioned in regards to the key search terms, what you described about you leveraging some key search terms on your website, you're doing that, and thousands of other dental offices are doing that at the same time. So that alone is not enough to get you page one ranking, because there's so many different components to optimizing your website.
So in terms of search engines, to get onto various search engines to get on the first page, do they all work similarly? Like, if you're on Google's first page, will you necessarily be on Bing's first page? Or to be honest, I don't actually know many search engines other than Google, because I think that's become ubiquitous for that word. Or, just how tissue is Kleenex. I think Google just means search. So
yeah. Obviously, Google is the most commonly used. I can't quote the exact percentage, but I think that's like 85% of all online searches are done on Google. There's other ones that people still use and they're relevant, but primarily most companies and most businesses focus primarily on Google optimization. So I think that's the biggest one, the most important one.
So in terms of the strategies, let's talk about different type of practices in terms of what you think will work for each one. And obviously every case is different. You can't just have a broad stroke for all dental practices or even two practices that are next door to each other. Let's talk about, so in terms of what you're looking for, should strategies be different for a city practice, by practice in the downtown of a metro city versus in a suburban practice versus then even a rural practice? What strategies do you think are different between them so you still get the same kind of bang for your buck? Yeah, result. That's even better word.
So in terms of best practices of what you need to do to optimize your website, those best practices are the same for everyone. And maybe I can name a few of them. So just so beyond kind of just optimizing content, kind of bring awareness to some key things that everyone could do in a way of best practices to help boost their visibility on Google search. So some of the basic things is making sure that you have SSL certificate on your website. So for anyone that's not familiar with SSL certificate, it's basically a security certificate that lets visitors to your website know that connection to your website is secure. This is super important, especially if you're sharing any type of like private information or if you're selling anything. But it's also important for dentists as well, because Google search engines will actually penalize you if you don't have it, and they do notify people that their connection is not secure, so you're basically entering the website at your own risk.
I've seen that happen a few times on different things. Good
exactly. It's not expensive. Well, I don't think it's expensive. It's basically $100 per year to get that certificate issued. You buy it from any hosting company that you currently use, and then it's valid for a year. Sometimes you can buy a license for a couple of years, so that number is slightly lower. The other thing is just making sure that your website is fully responsive. So making sure that it's mobile friendly, it adapts to any screen size. Again, if it's not fully responsive and someone else's is, those responsive sites will rank higher than yours. It's a pretty basic thing. Most sites nowadays are fully responsive, but I still see some that are not.
Define what do you mean by fully responsive?
So that means basically the way your website displays on your desktop computer, it should scale down to a tablet, it should scale down to a laptop, it should scale down to a phone screen and show exactly the same information that you have on your desktop that you have on your phone. Number of years ago, this is probably 10 years ago, when it became a big thing about having websites visible on phones, companies like web developers were basically developing specific mobile versions of the website. That has been completely replaced now by responsive design. So it's
interesting.
Just one site that basically scales down to any screen size that you're on. The other thing is basically online page optimization. So however many pages you have on your website, making sure that each one of your pages is optimized for search engines. So having a valid titles, description, and key search terms on that page. Image optimization, making sure that the images that are on your website, they're also optimized as well too. One of the biggest thing is content changes, and doing regular updates to your site. So if you're fairly serious about optimizing your site, I would say you need to have at least, and the easiest way to do it is through writing regular blogs, and they're SEO friendly blogs, and they should be done, I would say bare minimum twice a month, where they're covering specific dental topics and incorporating key search terms that are valid for your business and would benefit your business. Also submitting a sitemap to Google Search Console or submitting it to Bing. So basically anytime you're doing updates on your site, that you're submitting those updates to Google and Bing, so they're reading the most recent content on your site, and that also improves your organic ranking. The other thing that people don't realize is just the importance of is overall online footprint. So basically, if you have an opportunity to list your website on any other websites, that has, especially if those are good websites, reputable businesses, that makes, improves your overall visibility. So, anything from social media to even if you can get a free Yelp business account, it doesn't cost you anything, but it's another platform to list your website. Having a Google My Business listing, anywhere that you can be displayed where you can share your website linked directly back to your website, it has a positive impact. And the other thing that I would say is probably the biggest one is Google reviews. So actively working on asking patients for Google reviews. The more authentic Google reviews you have, the better your ranking will be, especially on the Google map. And if you're in an urban area that's saturated with dentists, people look at your overall ranking and see how you stack up against your competitors.
And so some of you listening out there watching, we went over a lot of stuff. In the coming marketing shorts videos, we're going to break down some of these individually, such as Google reviews, Google My Business, and websites. They're coming, but this is just basically the start of it. So just so you have, if people are listening, they're like rewinding, trying to figure out, because you gave a lot of great information there that, I've had a pen and paper, I would have been writing it down, even though I can just call you. So
Okay.
that would be easier for me. So you
Okay.
said something there that I wanted to touch on: organic placement, organically getting over. Is there a difference between uh, organically getting on the first page or paying? Can you pay to be on the first page? Or
Yeah.
do people do that? And, my question is going to translate. You can kind of answer this at the same point in time is, how do you pay for it? Are you
Mhm.
paying a flat fee? Are you paying a per click? Are you paying the amount of time? So I'd like you to talk about that a little bit, because, a lot of us get inundated with um, material from marketing companies talking about SEO and how you get on the first page. Because let's be honest, most people don't go more than 1 or 2 pages on Google
Mhm.
searches. So the goal is to get as far up as you can, is to make it easier, especially in a
Yeah.
competitive environment. Um, so go into that for me. One,
Yeah.
how do you, what's what difference between organic and paid, and how do you pay for it?
Yep. So just in general terms, you can optimize your website basically in one of two ways. It's either organic or pay-per-click, or you can do a combination of both. They both work differently. You pay for them differently, and uh, they're slightly different. So the organic stuff, this is mostly the stuff that I just talked about
Content.
just now. It's basically implementing a lot of these best practices, regular updates, working on your site on a regular basis to basically get you ranked organically on page one of Google. And that requires a lot of time. You typically you would work with a vendor that specializes in that area, and that's all they do. They just do regular updates on your site, and um, any good company that you hire, you pay them a monthly fee based on kind of where you are, what kind of search terms you want to be optimized for, and you pay them a monthly fee, and they would send you also a reporting at the end of it, kind of showing you, month to month, what is your progression, where were you this month, where are you next month, so you can kind of see the progress that you're making. And generally speaking, it would be like a flat fee, but you pay it every month. That's how most SEO companies work. With Google pay-per-click, there's two parts to it. This is basically where you're bidding for specific key search terms, and kind of where you want to appear. So a lot of the times it's a bidding war,
Wow.
especially if you're in a very kind of urban area where there's tons of competition. And the way you pay for it is you pay from two fronts. It's like first you pay to Google for what's called Google Ads dollars. So, this is where you pay anytime someone clicks on your site. You're paying Google a specific fee, and you can set your budgets that kind of make the most sense for you and your business. And then if you're having somebody else actually administer those ads for you, then obviously you have to pay them administration fee for doing those ads. Google asked if I was completely new to this, and if I wanted to do some optimization myself, the Google AdWords will probably be easier for me to do than the organic stuff, because the organic stuff requires a little bit more technical knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But long term, I feel that organic methods has bigger benefits than the pay-per-click. The advantage of pay-per-click is that the second you start running the campaign, you're going to start seeing results right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's the advantage of doing it pay-per-click. Organic way, generally speaking, if you haven't done any optimization at all, it will need to take about 3 to 4 months before you start seeing the real results and impact on your overall, visibility and traffic and conversions and, your click rates. But long term, let's just even say like you want to take a pause for a couple of months, whatever that is. If you've done a very good job of optimizing your website organically, you're not just going to disappear because you've stopped it. Like, the work that has been done is going to be relevant for quite some time. The moment you stop pay-per-click, you are nowhere to be found. It's like
Really?
nowhere. Sometimes you might be on page 60 at that point.
So there's two things that I take away from what you just said. Is one is if I'm a new practice in a very competitive environment, I may want to consider pay-per-click.
Yep.
So I'm not waiting 3 to 4 months. If I'm an established practice that's been practiced for a long time and I've always had good organic content on my websites and the other platforms that, if you're on the YouTube and on YouTube, the YouTube is sounding like my kids making fun of me, but on YouTube, on Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want to talk about, all those other sites that host stuff, you're probably going to have a better organic presence, which is important because, if you're starting a new practice and there's 10 dentists within a that you can throw a rock at, you're going to have to do something to get people to come to your websites because that's the only way they're going to know you're there.
And a lot of the times, it also depends on your budget, because if you're a new practice startup, if you have the budget for it, you might choose to do a combination of both. So you're doing primarily pay-per-clicks initially with some organic stuff. And then as soon as the organic stuff starts kicking in, maybe you can then drop off of the pay-per-click and just maintain the organic presence at that time.
Yeah. One last question before we go on to some other stuff. Are there any drawbacks for SEO marketing? Like, is there anything nothing's always perfect for you. I mean, like, has you ever seen any situations where someone said, oh, I wish I didn't do that? Or is SEO marketing basically just something that it helps get your brand out there, whether you're a new practice, older practice, mature practice, or you have a specialty that you want to promote?
I've never seen a negative impact of doing any online optimization. I will, however, say is that before you invest money in online optimization, you want to make sure that your fundamentals are good. And by fundamentals, I mean your brand and your website. If your website has not been updated in years and it's quite dated and doesn't really present your practice in the best view, I would hold off on spending money in optimization because, the goal of SEO is to get people to your website. But what happens beyond that point, that's really kind of comes down to how your website is set up and what kind of image you're putting out there. So make sure that your branding and your site is golden before you start investing in SEO.
Great advice. So that concludes our talk on SEO marketing. If you have any questions for Natalia, you can reach her. We'll have her contact information at the end of this short. Our next marketing short is going to be on website, so stay tuned. Thank you very much. Thanks, Natalia.
Thank you.